When the fuel light came on, the nearest gas station was still more than 100 miles away. That little amber glow on my dashboard cut through the soft darkness of the cab like an unwelcome thought. Outside, the desert highway stretched into the night, a pale ribbon between shadows. No towns, no houses, just an occasional dry bush, frozen in my headlights for a second and then gone. The clock on the dash blinked a late hour. The road was empty, the sky was wide, and somewhere far ahead a faint blur of light hinted that there might be a small town, or maybe just a lonely rest stop. Behind me, in the trailer, I was hauling something I knew almost nothing about. A sealed container, double-locked, paperwork marked only with codes and a vague description. Special cargo. Handle with care. No weight that stood out, no hazardous markings, just a sense that somebody really didn't want it opened. And as the miles went by and the fuel needle kept dropping, I started to feel like there was more inside that trailer than simple freight. The highway at night can feel like a meditation if you let it. The engine hummed in a low, steady tone, like a big metal lullaby. The tires whispered over the asphalt. The steering wheel was warm under my hands, the leather worn just right from years of long drives. Through the windshield, the world was simple. 2 white lines, 1 yellow line, and just enough road for the truck to follow. Everything else was darkness and stars. I turned the radio volume down until it was barely a breath of sound. Some quiet late-night station playing slow country and soft rock. A steel guitar cried gently in the background, then faded under a deep, soothing voice. It was the kind of music that doesn't demand anything from you. It just keeps you company. I rolled my shoulders, feeling the small pops in my spine, and took a deep breath. The air in the cab was cool, touched by the night, smelling faintly of coffee, road dust, and a hint of the pine air freshener hanging from the vent. I glanced again at the fuel gauge. It had dipped just a little lower. Not dangerously low yet. Not panic level. Just low enough to make me aware of each passing mile. Outside, the desert opened up like a black ocean. No city glow, no farm lights, just that huge bowl of sky overhead, scattered with stars so bright they almost felt close enough to touch. The moon was a thin silver curve on the horizon, more suggestion than light. I cracked the window just a bit. Warm, dry air slid into the cab, carrying the faint scent of dust and baked sand that still held the memory of the daytime heat. It mixed with the cool air from the vents, creating a gentle, comforting balance. Not too hot, not too cold. The road signs drifted past lazily. Next service is 112 miles. I smiled to myself, not out of fear, but with a kind of quiet acceptance. This was the kind of thing that happened sometimes out here. Long stretches between gas stations. Miles of silent road with nothing but your own thoughts to keep you busy. I let my breathing fall into rhythm with the hum of the engine. In that steady calm, the desert didn't feel hostile. It felt empty in a peaceful way, like a big quiet room where no one would bother you. The kind of emptiness that lets your mind slow down and wander gently, like a truck easing down a soft slope. Somewhere behind me, in the trailer, the special cargo lay still. The straps were tight. The locks were sealed. Everything was in place. And yet, now and then, I thought I could feel the faintest suggestion of movement, as if something shifted its weight in the darkness, just a fraction of an inch. I'd picked up the load just before sunset on the outskirts of a city that was already starting to blur with all the others in my memory. After a while on the road, most cities feel the same. Busy during the day, neon at night, forklifts buzzing in the yards, paperwork sliding across desks under tired fluorescent lights. The dispatcher had looked a little more serious than usual when he gave me the folder. Time sensitive, but no rush, he'd said, which made no sense at all. Just keep it moving. Try not to stop too long anywhere. And don't open the trailer. It's sealed. That wasn't unusual by itself. Lots of sealed loads travel every night. But there'd been something in his voice, in the way he avoided my eyes, that made the air feel thicker for just a few seconds. I'd signed the documents, checked the tires and lights, did my usual walk around. Nothing strange, just a standard trailer, standard locks, standard seal. No sounds from inside, no odd smells, nothing that said mystery. Still, as I pulled away from the yard, watching the mirrors, the feeling stayed with me, like a word on the tip of my tongue that I couldn't quite remember. The route was simple. Cut across the desert at night, beat the heat, deliver by late morning to a small facility just off the interstate on the other side. Easy miles, quiet hours. A good run to think and unwind. I'd fueled up before leaving the city, but traffic around the outskirts and a detour due to road work had eaten more diesel than I'd planned. Nothing crazy, just enough that the gauge sat a little lower than I liked by the time the sun slipped behind the horizon. Sunset had painted the sky in soft oranges and pinks, fading slowly into the deep blue that meant night was close. The desert looked almost gentle in that light, all its edges softened. Then, as darkness grew, the landscape fell away until only my headlights and taillights existed. Hours passed. The radio drifted from song to song, then into distant chatter about weather and small-town news, wind warnings for tomorrow, an old fairground reopening, a local diner celebrating its anniversary. All of it felt far away from my cab, like echoes from another world. That was when I first thought I heard it. A very soft sound from the trailer. Not a bang or a rattle. More like a low, slow slide. I checked the mirrors automatically, seeing only the clean white side of the trailer glowing faintly in the reflection of my marker lights. No swaying, no unusual movement. Probably just the suspension, I murmured to myself. Out here, you talk to yourself a lot. The road listens, and it never argues. The desert shoulder was mostly flat, and the road was in good shape, but there are always small bumps, little dips and rises that the eye doesn't notice. A properly secured load can still creak a bit. That's what I told myself. Still, I marked the milepost in my mind. If it kept happening, I'd pull over and check everything. Even with a sealed trailer, you're allowed to make sure your straps haven't come loose, as long as you don't break the seal. The fuel needle slipped another hair toward empty. The light was still off then. No warning yet. Just that slow, inevitable drift toward the lower side of the gauge. As the night deepened, more stars appeared. They multiplied until the sky looked like someone had spilled a bucket of silver dust across it. Out there, away from cities and towns, you remember how dark the night can really be, and how bright the stars become when there's nothing to compete with them. The road signs kept reminding me of the distance between me and the next chance to fill up. But I'd done the math. I had enough diesel to make it. It would be close, but not crazy. I'd run tighter stretches before. I leaned back in my seat a little, feeling the gentle vibration of the engine through the frame of the truck. a constant, soothing presence. That big diesel heart beat steadily beneath me, pushing the miles behind us, one by one. The sound from the trailer came again. This time it was a faint thump, like something lightly bumping against a wall. Not loud, not urgent, just definite. I turned down the radio until the music was almost gone and listened. Nothing. Only the hum of the tires and the soft whistle of the wind around the cab. Probably nothing, I said softly, half to myself, half to whatever might be back there. Just stay put, friend. We'll get you where you're going. The words surprised me as they left my mouth. Friend, as if I were talking to a person. The road rolled on, smooth and quiet. And then, sometime later, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 30, time gets strange at night. The fuel light blinked on with that tiny, polite glow that somehow felt much louder than it looked. By the time the fuel light came on, I'd settled into a calm acceptance of the night. No stress, no rush. Just me, the truck, the cargo, and the long stretch of desert. Seeing that light didn't change the mood right away. It was more like the story taking a gentle turn. The way a song shifts key, soft and smooth, almost unnoticeable until you realize you feel a little different. I checked the small digital readout under the gauge. Rough estimate of miles to empty. It was never perfect, but it gave me a baseline. The number glowed softly, lower than I wanted, but not a disaster. All right, I whispered, keeping my voice low and steady. We're gonna ride this out easy. No sudden moves, just smooth and patient. I eased off the accelerator just a touch, letting the truck settle into a relaxed cruise. Less fuel burn, less pressure. The engine's sound softened, dropping into a slower, deeper note that almost blended with the wind. In the mirrors, the trailer rolled behind me like a quiet shadow. That's when I saw the lights. Far, far behind. Just two tiny stars on the black ribbon of highway. Headlights. Another vehicle, way back, maybe over a mile. Nothing unusual. People still used the road at night, even if it felt like I was the only one out here. But as the minutes dragged by and the miles slipped under my tires, those lights didn't seem to get much closer. They stayed there, always at the same distance, neither gaining on me nor falling behind. I watched them now and then, not with worry, just with curiosity. A quiet game to keep my mind occupied. Who was out there? Another trucker? A family on a long trip? Someone running late? Or running away from something? Or running toward it? The road held 1,000 stories every night, most of which you'd never know. The sound from the trailer came again, like a soft slide and then a muffled tap. I breathed slowly through my nose and let the air out through my mouth, calm and steady. No need to spook myself. No need to feed the imagination. Still, there was something about that noise. It didn't quite feel like a loose chain or shifting boxes. It had a pattern to it, faint as it was. Tap, silence, slide, silence. Almost as if something inside was listening. The thought drifted through my mind like a slow cloud, without sharp edges. I didn't push it away, but I didn't grab onto it either. I just let it pass. I remembered the dispatcher's eyes, the way he'd avoided saying too much, the way the paperwork had been oddly vague, the way the seal number on the trailer had matched the one on the manifest with such careful precision, as if that detail mattered more than usual. Outside, a warm breeze brushed against the cab, and little ripples moved over the sand beside the road. The desert wasn't flat, not really. It was full of gentle shapes, low dunes, dry washes, scattered stones that caught the starlight and winked faintly as we passed. The road signs counted down the miles to the next services. 110, then 90, then 80. The gauge needle dropped a little more, but I stayed calm. A long, slow breath in. A long, slow breath out. The headlights behind me were still there. Still not closer. Still not farther. Just like a quiet companion following at a respectful distance. I thought again about the cargo. About how sometimes, on certain loads, you can almost feel the weight of someone else's secrets sitting a few feet behind you. I started talking out loud, softly, the way you talk to a sleeping child so you don't wake them. You know, I said, eyes on the road, I don't really need to know what you are back there. My job's just to carry you through the night, get you where you're going. That's all. You rest. I'll drive. As silly as it might sound, saying the words brought a quiet sense of comfort. It made the night feel less empty, like there really was someone listening. The trailer creaked once, almost as if it were answering. The miles kept rolling under us. After a while, the faint headlights behind me seemed to flicker. They grew brighter for a moment, then dimmer, then bright again, as if whoever was driving was passing through thin veils of mist. Except there was no mist, no fog, nothing but dry desert air. Maybe it was just a trick of the distance, heat still rising off the asphalt even in the dark, bending the light in strange ways. I'd seen that before. Not weird at all. Just nature doing its thing. Still, the pattern on, off, felt almost like breathing. The fuel readout ticked down another few miles. I did the math again in my head, slow and careful. At this pace, if nothing went wrong, I'd pull into the station on fumes, but I'd make it. I watched the thin, glowing arc of the fuel gauge and felt, oddly, not fear, but a kind of trust. Trust in the engine, in the road, in the long years I'd spent doing this. I've been in tighter spots, I said quietly. We'll be fine. Then, for the first time, I heard a different sound from the trailer. Not a slide, not a tap, a very soft, very slow knock. 1. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. So gentle that if the night had been any louder, I might have missed it completely. I kept my hands steady on the wheel, my breathing calm. My heart beat a little faster, but I held on to the softness of the moment. No jump scares, no sudden panic, just curiosity wrapped in a blanket of quiet. 3 knocks, I murmured. That's interesting. The radio host's voice drifted back into focus, talking about constellations now, about how some of the stars we see are light from so long ago that the original stars might no longer even exist. I glanced up at the sky. So many tiny, distant fires, shining through time, long after their own fuel might have run out. Stars keep going, I whispered, as much to myself as to the unknown cargo, long after we think they're done. The trailer creaked again, softly, and for just a heartbeat, I had the strangest feeling that whatever was inside was listening very carefully and quietly waiting to see what I would do next. The last few miles before the station felt like holding my breath underwater, but trying to stay relaxed while doing it. The gauge was kissing the empty mark now, the warning light glowing softly on the dash like a little candle in the dark. The readout for miles to empty had stopped giving me a number and just showed 3 silent dashes. Out ahead, the promise of man-made light. That gas station still shimmered on the horizon, but now I could tell it was farther than I'd hoped. Heat haze and distance had played their tricks. I eased my foot even lighter on the pedal, coaxing the truck forward. "Come on, old friend," I murmured to the engine. "Just a little farther. Nice and easy." The night stayed incredibly calm. No wind gusts, no sudden traffic. Just the road, the stars, and that soft humming presence in the trailer behind me. Every now and then, I thought I heard the faintest slide or tap, like whatever was back there was quietly aware that things were getting delicate. Then it happened. First, a tiny stumble in the engine's song, a hitch in the rhythm, like a musician missing a note and catching themselves. The truck shuddered, just a little. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel, but I kept my breathing slow. "It's all right," I whispered. "You've done good. We'll deal with it." A few more seconds of forward motion. The station lights hovered, not any closer, not any farther, just a soft glow in the distance. Then the engine coughed again, this time longer, deeper. The power dipped. The cab lights dimmed for a heartbeat, then came back. I turned off the radio, every sense open now, but still wrapped in that strange peace the desert brings. One more cough, one more stutter, and then silence. The big diesel heart that had been beating under my seat all night went quiet. The hum faded, the vibrations eased away, and the only sound left was the soft rush of wind as we coasted forward on momentum alone. I slipped the transmission into neutral, guiding the truck as it rolled, using what little speed we had left to find a safe place on the shoulder. The steering was still there, the brakes still ready. The truck and I had done this dance before. Slowly, gently, like a giant settling down to rest, the rig drifted to the side of the road and came to a stop. The silence that followed wasn't harsh. It was thick and velvety, the kind of quiet you get inside a closed room late at night when everyone else is asleep. I let my hands rest on the wheel for a moment, feeling the stillness. "Well," I said softly into the darkness, "looks like we ran the tank dry." Out here, that could have been a scary sentence. But the strange thing was, it wasn't. The sky above was still full of 1,000 calm stars. The air through the cracked window was still warm and gentle. The distant gas station was still a small, steady glow ahead. We weren't abandoned. We were just paused. From the trailer came 3 very soft knocks. 1, 2, 3. They weren't scared knocks. Not frantic. Just present. Like someone lightly tapping on a wall between 2 rooms to say, "I hear you. I'm here too." I smiled, even though no one could see it. "Yeah," I answered quietly. "I know. We're in this together, huh?" I checked my mirrors. The highway behind us was empty, no headlights this time, no quiet companion truck following. Just a long, dark ribbon under the stars. The gas station lights ahead seemed farther now that I was standing still, but not impossibly far. A few miles, maybe. A distance you could walk, if you had to. I reached for my flashlight, checked my phone's signal, faint but there, and then looked back toward the trailer one more time, as if I could see through it. "Sit tight," I said softly to the unknown cargo. "I'm gonna go find us a little help. I'll be back." For a second or two, nothing happened. Then, from the very bottom edge of the trailer door, I saw that same faint, gentle glow I'd noticed before. It wasn't bright enough to light the road or even the shoulder. It was just a soft line of pale light, like someone had slipped a candle into a dark room and closed the door, leaving only a thin suggestion of it under the crack. It pulsed once, twice, 3 times. I didn't feel fear. I felt understood, like the cargo was nodding in its own strange way. "All right then," I whispered. "Stay safe. I'll do the walking." I stepped out of the cab into the warm desert night, the door closing with a soft, familiar thump behind me. The sky opened up overhead, huge and comforting. The road stretched out, quiet and patient. The gas station lights glowed faintly ahead like a small oasis. I started walking toward them, my footsteps slow and steady, each one echoing lightly on the empty shoulder. The truck, the trailer, and the hidden glow behind those rear doors grew smaller behind me with every step, but the connection didn't feel like it was fading. It felt like we were still tied together by an invisible, gentle line. I wasn't hurrying. There was no need. The night wasn't my enemy. It was my companion. And somewhere, quietly, miles behind me and a few feet off the ground, something inside that sealed trailer waited calmly, trusting that I'd keep my promise and find a way to bring it the rest of the way home. Walking in the desert at night is nothing like walking in the day. Under the sun, everything is sharp, the heat, the light, the glare off the sand. But at night, all the edges soften. The world turns into shades of gray and gentle blue, and the ground feels cooler, like it's finally able to breathe after holding onto the sun all day. My boots met the packed shoulder with a soft crunch. Every few steps, tiny stones shifted under my soles, making small, familiar sounds that were oddly soothing. Behind me, the truck waited in silhouette, a dark shape outlined by the stars. Somewhere inside that shape, in the quiet heart of the trailer, the special cargo rested again. I like to imagine it had settled, as if curling up to sleep. The gas station lights ahead grew a little closer with each breath. They weren't bright or harsh, just a pale yellow halo, like a porch light left on for someone coming home late. The night wrapped around me like a blanket. The air was warm but not heavy, carrying a faint scent of dust and dry plants. There was no engine sound now, no radio, no dashboard beeps. Only my breathing, my steps, and the distant hum of the highway stretching far beyond my little part of it. I thought about the truck as if it were a living thing, tired, thirsty, pulled over by the side of the road to rest. Ran her a little too close this time. I murmured, the words drifting up into the dark. But you did good. You carried us as far as you could. A cool breeze moved across the sand, brushing against my face and arms like a soft hand. It made the stars seem to shimmer a little more. Somewhere far off, a coyote called once, then went quiet again. Not a frightening sound, just another reminder that the desert had its own slow, gentle life, moving out there beyond the reach of headlights. Step by step, the station grew clearer, the outline of the pumps, the long, low building, the glow from the windows. A tall, lonely sign with half its bulbs burned out, still standing watch over the road. I imagined the sleeping attendant inside, slumped in a chair behind the counter, the TV on with no sound, a pot of coffee going stale on the warmer. Places like this had a rhythm of their own, long stretches of nothing, then a sudden visitor or two, then quiet again. As I walked, my thoughts kept circling back to the trailer, to the knocks, to the glow, to that odd feeling of sharing the night with a secret that didn't want to hurt anyone, just wanted to be carried gently from one place to another. I didn't know what the cargo really was. Maybe, in the morning light, it would turn out to be something simple, delicate instruments, sensitive equipment, something scientific or experimental that gave off strange light when powered. Or maybe not. But here, in this peaceful in-between moment, it didn't really matter. What mattered was the small, quiet bond that had formed between driver and freight, between me and something unseen that trusted me enough to stay calm when the fuel ran out. By the time I reached the gas station lot, the night felt softer than ever. Gravel crunched under my boots as I stepped off the shoulder and onto the worn asphalt. One lonely soda machine glowed next to the building, its light buzzing faintly. A couple of moths fluttered lazily around it, tapping their wings against the plastic as if trying to understand this odd, bright thing in their dark world. Inside, the attendant really was half asleep, just like I'd imagined. He blinked awake when he saw me, then listened quietly as I explained. Ran out of fuel a few miles back, truck and trailer waiting by the roadside. Long night, low gauge, miscalculation. There was no drama in his reaction, just a slow nod, a kind look, and the calm understanding of someone who lives out here and has seen this before. Got a can in the back, he said in an easy, sleepy drawl. We'll get you enough to roll in proper. While he disappeared into a storage room, I stood by the window, looking back out toward where I knew the truck was, even if I couldn't see it from here. The road was just a line now. The desert was a soft, dark ocean beyond it. For a moment, just a heartbeat. I thought I saw it again in my mind's eye. That faint, familiar glow beneath the trailer door. Not bright, not strange, just a little line of comfort in the dark. Still with me, huh? I whispered, more to the memory than to anything else. Good, I'm coming back. The attendant returned with a metal fuel can, the handle clinking softly as he set it down. We exchanged a few quiet words, settled up without any hurry. Even the clink of coins and the soft tear of the receipt felt unhurried, like the night itself was moving in slow motion. Soon I was back on the shoulder, walking the road in the other direction, the can sloshing gently in my hand. The desert stretched out, patient and wide. Each step back toward the truck felt easier than the steps away had. I knew now what needed to be done. The problem was simple, the solution already in my hand. There was a lightness in that. When the truck finally appeared again in the distance, waiting exactly where I'd left it, it looked less like a stranded machine and more like a big animal resting, head bowed, eyes closed. As I drew closer, I could see the faint gleam of chrome, the tall profile of the cab against the stars. The trailer stood steady, no swaying, no noise, just quiet presence. I walked along its side once more, letting my fingers lightly trace the metal. When I reached the back doors, I paused on instinct. The night was so still I could hear my own heartbeat. Then, from inside the trailer, 3 soft knocks. 1, 2, 3, almost like a greeting this time. I smiled, leaning my forehead for a second against the cool door. Told you I'd be back, I whispered. Under the door, the faint glow blossomed again. Just a thin, gentle line of pale light. It pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm, almost like breathing in and out. I stood there for a moment in the quiet, letting that calm, impossible sight wash over me. There was no fear, just a deep, deep sense of peace. Rest, I said softly. We'll be rolling again soon. Then we'll get you where you need to go. The glow shimmered one last time, then slowly faded until the crack under the door was just darkness again. I walked back to the side of the truck, opened the fuel cap, and poured the diesel in, listening to the soft glug 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 as the tank began to drink. When the can was empty, I screwed the cap back on, patted the metal lightly, and climbed into the cab. Inside, everything felt familiar and safe. The seat accepted my weight. The steering wheel fit my hands. The faint smell of dust and coffee and long miles lingered in the air. I sat there for a bit before turning the key, letting the silence settle one more time. My eyelids were heavy now, the long night weighing gently on them. I could start the engine. I could roll to the station, fill up proper, and keep moving. But for the first time that night, I let myself consider another option, resting here just a while, with the sky as my ceiling and the desert as my quiet backyard. I leaned the seat back, just enough to be comfortable. Outside, the stars watched over the parked truck, tiny guardians in the vast, velvet sky. The road lay still. The desert breathed its slow, ancient breath. Behind me, in the trailer, whatever I was carrying had gone utterly quiet. I imagined it wrapped again in that soft, impossible glow, finally allowed to sleep. My own breathing matched the slow rhythm of the night. In and out, in and out. I closed my eyes. In the gentle darkness behind my eyelids, I saw a road stretching out, not of asphalt, but of soft light, winding peacefully through a landscape of memories and half-dreams. My truck rolled along it without sound, no need for fuel, carried by something warmer and kinder than diesel. Somewhere on that luminous road, a quiet figure walked beside me, not frightening, not strange, just a wordless companion made of calm light and patience. Maybe it was the cargo, maybe it was the road itself, maybe it was just the part of me that had learned, over all these miles, how to trust the night. Sleep, that presence seemed to say without words. The journey continues, but for now rest. My muscles loosened, my thoughts slowed to a gentle drift. The last thing I noticed was how comfortable the cab felt, how safe, how complete, as if truck, driver, and unseen passenger were all sharing the same quiet breath. Out there in the desert, with the tank just beginning to refill and the world wrapped in starlight, I let go at last, sliding softly into sleep, while the road, patient and endless, waited quietly for morning. For now, my story is over, but I still need some time to think. If you're still with me, stay. The road is long tonight.